He has to watch his microphone because he's very low. So with
Okay, well, I'll turn it up so I can hear him. I haven't talked to Rod since the first day that I sat on the back porch with him.
Where's that?
Hello, you hear me?
We can hear you.
Fancy, I have to disagree with you. I don't want Chris to play any part in with me to.
Hey, hold on a second. Can everyone else please mute? Because I can't hear him. I'm even going to mute. I can barely hear him.
You hear me? Fancy? Oh. Hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so Fancy, I disagree with you when you say that Dee and Christy manipulated me some kind of way when Gypsy was in the 10-year-old range. I don't agree with that. Christy and Dee weren't working together on a way to make me feel one way or another about Gypsy. I don't know where that's coming from.
Is Fancy still here?
Yeah, Fancy, can you hear him?
I get it, Fancy. That's your
Sorry, I
opinion.
was muted so I could hear better. I was hoping my background noise would make it easier to hear him. Okay, I heard what you said, Rod, about that. I'm more talking about the fact that I think you've been misled to understanding what actually is in Gypsy's medical records that are actually correct. And I'm also think you might have been misled to think of how Gypsy's developmental as far as behavioral and the different things that come along with this chromosome disorder, that she could be predisposed to have these types of behavioral issues and tendencies. It even ties into schizophrenia, Rod. I'm not sure if you know that or not.
Has Gypsy been diagnosed with schizophrenia?
No, I did not say that she had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, Rod. What I said is the chromosome disorder leads to several types of severe behavioral issues that can have comorbidity with the chromosome disorder. And based on that, these childish antics and the different things and the violent behavior and all the things she has exhibited for years and years and years, we have so many stories of just things that she did all along the way, Rod, that was probably very concerning for Dee Dee.
Does it explain how she was able to stay in a wheelchair and then all of a sudden be able to walk?
Well, if I recall correctly, when she first told you about the wheelchair, she said that the reason that the wheelchair was being utilized was because she had muscle weakness, and at some point in time, if she walked too much, then she would get tired and her muscles would hurt, correct?
Yes, that is correct. That's what Dee Dee told me the first time I asked her after the accident.
Okay. So based on that, Rod, and the muscle biopsy, and that she was diagnosed with fiber 2 atrophy. They ruled out muscular dystrophy, but they did find that she did have some muscle tone weakness. Now, with this chromosome disorder, the doctor that I have spoken with about this has explained to me that a lot of those type of things, the muscle weakness, the eyes, the ears, all the different things that you just couldn't figure out what was wrong, a lot of those things are things with physical therapy or any of the things that she actually did participate in could help those conditions to either cease to exist any further because she outgrows them, or they at least go down to a point that she can manage them without all the different things she was needing to manage them with in the first place. But I do believe that the wheelchair was used as a way to con charities and individuals. I do believe she was doing that. I'm just telling you, I don't believe, based on her medical records and the people have looked at it, I do not believe she was medically child abusing Gypsy. I believe it was medical fraud.
Do you think that making her stay in the wheelchair can be considered Munchausen by proxy, which is...
No, it's not. No, it would not be considered Munchausen by proxy. It's a fraud. That would be malingering which is for profit. Dee did not do this because, okay, I don't know if you know about Munchausen by proxy, but Munchausen by proxy is for a specific reason, and that's for them to get accolades. It's for them to be seen as the conquering hero, all of those things. So even the experts that I've spoken to about this have said that if it was only for profit, and that's what we believe it is, and what we're showing in the evidence, Rod, and I'm serious, I'll sit down and talk with you guys. I even offered to come and talk to Christy about this despite our differences. But what happened is it's called malingering, which is solely for profit. And GYPSY testified to that in court when she was asked, why did she make you do this? And she said it was for financial gain. In her interrogation, she had mentioned the same thing. So that would make it malingering by proxy, not Munchausen by proxy. And it has a completely different psychological thing. It's not listed. Malingering is not listed in the DSM-5 as a disorder because it's not a mental disorder. They're making a conscious decision to fraud people. There's a difference. I don't believe Dee abused your daughter medically.
Okay, so I pulled up online right here the Munchausen syndrome by proxy definition, and it says the goal is to make it appear as if the person is sick or injured. Which I think that's what Dee did. Whether or not it was for a goal or whatever.
No, Rod. The difference is when it's for when the financial gain part comes in. It's not Munchausen, it's malingering. That's the difference. So sitting her in a wheelchair, okay, is not causing her any physical discomfort in the medical field. It's not a procedure, it's not anything. And I do believe she was able to walk around the home in Springfield based on the way that the home looks, based on the fact that there was no way those wheelchairs were getting through there. There's also tons of dust on all of them. They were covered in things. She was not using the wheelchair at that point in time because she no longer needed it. Dee even told them in 2011 in her records, Rod, that she was no longer interested in pursuing any type of other disorders or any information as to why GYPSY had certain conditions they could not explain yet, because it was explained all by the chromosome disorder, and she was just happy that she had a stable child. That is notated exactly by the doctor. So I'm telling you, if she had done medical procedures to her that were absolutely not necessary, that's Munchausen by proxy. Based on what our records show, she didn't do that. What she did was create a false, a veil for financial profit, and that makes it different than Munchausen by proxy. Does that make sense?
Not really. I mean, I didn't see the definition of malingering.
Well, you're going to have to look up malingering because it's very specific. Dr. Feldman even talked about this.
You gonna let me talk or not?
No, I'm sorry. I can't hear you well, so there's a lag, Rod. I'm not trying to be rude.
Okay, so I haven't read the definition of malingering by proxy, but on here it says the goal is to make it appear as if the person is sick or injured and to deceive others into believing that full attention is necessary. And, you can have your opinion on what, if it was abuse or not, if you made her sick, or if you had a prescription pad.
Okay, can I ask you a question about the prescription pad?
What's that?
Can I ask you a question about the prescription pad that Christy says she found? Where did she find that prescription pad, and have you actually seen that prescription pad?
Absolutely, I was there with her. Myself,
okay, and where was it when you found it, Rod?
In the bedroom somewhere.
It was in the bedroom. Okay. Now, here's the thing about that. What I can tell you is that Christy actually gave me the book from inside Dee Dee's home, which showed all the records of her picking up every single medication for her and GYPSY for several years. They weren't using several different pharmacies, and all the things that GYPSY was prescribed at the time, I do believe was medically necessary. And so she wasn't going to she was not doctor shopping, Rod, like you guys have been led to believe. She wasn't going to different pharmacies and getting different medications all over the place. Those are the indications of Munchausen by proxy. Again, everything she was doing was for financial gain, and that changes the way that this story has to be looked at. I'm sorry, it does.
I haven't said that she was doctor shopping. I only said she lying to the doctors down here, moved and told them the records were lost, and gave them
The records weren't lost, Rod. Did you know that the records weren't lost?
Yes.
Did you know that Dr. Steele received them in June of 2000 or September of 2005, and in that is where he would have known that muscular dystrophy was ruled out in 2000 and 2001, and he continued to chart it. He also lied on Lifetime Confessions about seeing those records, and he also lied about the records he was holding in his hand, because all of the ones that he was holding in his hand were from Children's, and I have those records. And he was the referring doctor to all of those specialists, Rod.
Well, I don't know about the doctor. I don't know if he lied or not. I'm not.
I do. That's the thing. I have these records, and what I'm saying, I have actual evidence and proof of. I'm not making these claims just to make these claims, Rod. I don't want anything bad to happen to you guys. I don't. I came to this story because I cared. And then your wife lied to me, your daughter lied to me, and then they put a smear campaign together to discredit and defame me. And I'm sorry, that is when I became on the defensive. But truthfully, Rod, all I care about today is truth. I don't care about all the bullshit. I just want it to stop. And it has been coming from GYPSY since January of this year. She put out, let me finish, Rod, please. She put out a Facebook post asking everyone to deplatform me on every single platform to end my tyranny. I have never caused tyranny to you. I have never kept any type of ability for you to earn money. The contract you signed was solid, and I know that if we had gotten through the court case, we might have decided to pay you out for the things that we offered to pay you for in the first place, which I had no problem doing. But as far as anything else, Rod, my contract is extremely solid, and I did everything I said I was going to do, and I still am doing those things. This is not a witch hunt, Rod. I didn't mean to turn on your family like this and just be shitty. They turned on me, and they hurt me on purpose. And your wife has done that, and you're going to have to realize it. I can show you all of it.
As far as I know, Fancy, we had a 2-year option with you, life rights option for 2 years, right? And you were supposed to produce something in 2 years?
No, actually, no, it's not. Rod, no, it's not a 2-year option. Actually, it had a 2-year option for the very first project, which we completed the podcast in the 2-year period. Any additional projects that we made past that, you had an additional clause in there that you would be paid out at a lesser fee for the additional projects, including books, podcasts, media, anything that we made after that, you had an additional payout. The only reason we never paid you out is because your wife made it so my podcast could not be monetized, could not be earning money. Otherwise, we would have paid you for the viable project. Your wife also offered to come onto that project, and she told me the reason that she could not be interviewed on that podcast was because you told her not to. I have those screenshots. She also went to Natasha Cooper and told Natasha Cooper that I cheated on my husband in California while I was out there pitching the project, that I did not pitch the project, and I contracted an STD. She is the one who did that. I have the screenshots of that as well. Rod, I'm not lying. She has done these things, and I think you are offshore way too often that you don't know what your daughter and your wife are doing. I'm not mad at you at all. I don't believe you've done this. I believe your daughter and your wife has, because I believe they're covering up the motive for GYPSY unaliving Dee Dee. I'm sorry. I do believe this with my whole heart, and I have evidence to prove that it's true.
Well, you have your evidence, Fancy, argue your case. I'm not saying that you don't have some valid proof. The information that
Absolutely, thank you.
As I'm hearing, or from what I understand, or what I believe, is we had a 2-year contract with you. It didn't work out. We felt you were unprofessional. You were having drama with other people online. Like, people don't do that.
Because your wife created that drama. She created all the drama with Natasha Cooper, and that is who it was originally causing all the problems with me, Rod. She created that. She went to Natasha. She asked her to do the things she did. She helped them find she told Natasha Cooper that I had done all these different things where I cheated on my husband, all that. Those are in text messages to me, to Natasha, and your wife admitted to doing it. Rod, I'm telling you, I'm not crazy. I know what I'm talking about. And if you'd like to sit down and discuss it, I will be happy to do so with you and your lawyer only. I do not want Christy involved. I do not want your daughter involved. I will sit down with the contract. We'll go over it. We'll talk about that. And I'm willing to negotiate this with you. All I want is the truth, Rod. It's what I told you when I sat on your back porch. The good, the bad, the ugly. And I told you both that I would know if you were lying. And when I found out that your wife was lying and your daughter was lying on several things, I could no longer ethically work with you, and I cut ties. Then your wife proceeded to contact Natasha Cooper for the sole purpose of defaming and discrediting me, harassing and stalking me. We went to the FBI, and your wife was who asked us to drop the FBI case.
Okay, you're going way into too many details there.
I'm telling you the truth.
I'm trying to avoid all of this drama with all this online stuff.
Then ask, Rod, I didn't talk about your family for over 5 years. I came out in December when the Banfield show turned me down turned me down. No, here's what happened with the Banfield show, sir. The Banfield show reached out to me. I spoke with them. I told them I was not likely the person that they wanted to speak with because I no longer worked with the Blanchard family, and I did not think, and I would not participate in anything that the Blanchard family was working on. So they asked me why, and I had a very, very frank conversation, and they asked me exactly what I wanted to say about GYPSY, and my quote was, I think that she's a very dangerous and very disturbed young lady who's doing exactly what her mama taught her to do. They sent a camera crew out. Your wife then found out because I told one TikToker that she personally knew that went to her and told her that I was going to appear on the Banfield show. She then wrote a letter to the Banfield show to tell them that if they spoke with me in any capacity, she would never, ever go on there again. She admitted to this and showed the email in a live with Brandy Jolly and Tori Johnson that Dawn Brown was in, and your wife was in the chat at the time. So I went public with that. After that, your wife, your daughter, and all their little minions, Brandy, Dawn Brown, Kendall Grant, I can go on and on, launched a smear campaign against me, went after several different people, filed complaints against the licensing board with Colleen for even just looking at the files. It has gone on and on, Rod. I'm not the one who needs to stop. It is your family and the people that associate with your family that need to stop so that I can do my job and tell the truth. That's it. I don't put out stuff I can't prove, Rod. I don't. I'm willing to sit down with you. Do you want to do that?
Not really fancy, honestly.
Well, your wife seems to want to, considering that you guys took me to court for money. You didn't take me to court to stop me. Every single one of the charges, the 7 charges that you filed were all about the fact that I did not pay you, that I had been profiting and did not pay you. You have no proof that I have profited at all, but I have proof that I did not.
Do you have any proof that you paid me?
So if you'd like me to honor the contract, I'm willing to do so. But if not, Rod, then you need to talk to your wife and anyone that's associated and tell them to stop doing what they're doing to me.
I don't think we ever got paid, what, it was $10 that you were supposed to pay us the first time we met, the only time we met?
Yes, I did. I paid Christy that $10. I absolutely did. And it doesn't matter. The project that we did was produced within the time period, within that 2-year period, which means I fulfilled my obligation to you. However, there is a clause in there that states that I was never under any obligation to make any project ever, and there was not a clause in there for me to return any of the materials. If you choose to not participate and your wife broke the contract by lying, because in there is a clause that what she was telling me was inaccurate, I no longer owed you anything. But I actually tried to negotiate with Christy at the 2-year mark to continue to make sure that you and her were paid for the efforts and the time that you put in. And I even offered to set up a trust for GYPSY at the time for that payment. Your wife turned me down. I have everything too.
Are you able to sell GYPSY's medical records online?
You provided me all of those, and yes, actually, it's just like in their Rod. It did. It's part of our proof. We did not sell her medical records. What we sold was the research and the evidence that put together proved she was not medically child abused. We didn't sell all of GYPSY. Didn't do anything like that. Natasha had already released them publicly, so it does not matter. And that would have been attached to a project that would have been making profit. Do you know that only 3 or 4 people actually paid for that level at any time? And it was only within the last 6 months that I've even put the medical records in there. In fact, not even then. I did not put them in there until we found the chromosome disorder this year. So I was not selling her medical. I was not doing that. They were paying to come in and see the research and the evidence that backed up research that we had done. It is absolutely 100% covered in the contract. Yes, Rod, it is. And I would have never had to do that if they would have just been truthful with me. I did not sell our medical records. I sold the viewing of them as evidence to the research that we had done to prove the chromosome disorder, which is covered in the contract. I had the ability to use it in any medium I so choose. You should have read the contract, or Rod. Maybe Mike Stanfield should have read it for GYPSY. He didn't. And, you know, maybe that shows what kind of shitty lawyer he is. Sorry. Maybe get a better lawyer, dude. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm not being rude. I'm really being truthful with you.
With our story, I thought.
Plus, also, Rod. I'm sorry, what?
What I don't understand is you were all on board with telling GYPSY's story. We met you. You sent us the screenplay or whatever you had and stuff like that.
Yes, and your wife is the person who kept that from happening, Rod. Do you understand that?
What happened all of a sudden, you know, when
you don't know. That's exactly it right there, Rod. You just said it. I don't know.
Coming up with this theory about GYPSY wasn't abused. I mean,
it's not a theory, Rod. It's proven in her medical record. I didn't say GYPSY is not abused. I want to make this very clear.
Okay,
what Dee Dee did to her, teaching her to, please let me finish, Rod. Rod, please let me finish. Listen, I am not disputing that there could have been psychological abuse. I am not disputing that. I do dispute that there is physical because there's no evidence of that. Now, I'm not disputing psychological abuse. I'm also not disputing that teaching a child to lie, grift, steal as a way of life is not in some way abusive. However, what I'm telling you is it's not a theory that she was not medically child abused. It is facts proven by her own medical records, which I can go through with you at great length. And I can even call in the doctor and the nurse practitioner, or nurse with master's education, and to explain it to you. You need to go to a doctor. You guys need to go to genetic counseling. I even reached out to Jasmine recently to tell Christy that I would provide all of those records to you in any way, shape, or form to aid you guys in understanding the chromosome disorder better. I'm not the enemy, Rod. I'm just trying to do my job, and I'm trying to actually help your family understand what your daughter has. You guys are delusional as to who she is and what she has. I'm sorry.
I don't think you'll ever convince me, or anybody will ever convince me, that GYPSY wasn't abused. It's hard for me to put myself
I'm not saying she wasn't, Rod. Rod, okay, look, there are specific criteria to prove medical child abuse, and she does not have that specific criteria. Okay, so I'm not saying she wasn't abused in any way, shape, or form. There's no substantiated proof she was abused emotionally or physically. Okay, but it's not to say it didn't happen. What I'm telling you is I can say within a shadow of a doubt, she was not medically child abused, which is the new clinical term for Munchausen by proxy, or factitious disorder imposed upon another. It was malingering, and yes, I'm assuming that is abusive. It was controlling. I had a controlling mother. She was abusive. Okay, that's why I came to this case, because I understood. But what you're not understanding is there is a clear difference between that type of abuse and medical child abuse.
Okay, so
I'm not saying she wasn't abused, Rod.
How much
Possibly.
how much abuse does somebody have to take to think about killing their own mother? Okay, think about
Exactly, Rod, but I don't think it was abuse. Could it be another reason? Could there be another reason for her wanting to unalive her mother?
that. I can't get a word in with you, Fancy. I can't. You gonna let me talk, please?
I'm sorry. Yes, I will. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rod.
So, like I said, nobody can convince me that she wasn't abused. Put myself in Gypsy's shoes.
Okay.
Think about killing your own mother, trying it before, running away, getting caught, brought back, chained up, so controlled. You can call it medical abuse, malingering, whatever you want to call it. That's just semantics. But to think that you're gonna kill your own mother to get away from her.
Rod, may I ask you a question about what you just said? Do you have any proof whatsoever that Gypsy was ever chained to a bed anywhere other than her saying it?
I do not. But you want to
Okay.
believe you. Okay? And
Rod, without evidence, there's no way for you to prove that, and there's no way for me to prove it did not happen. So the only thing I can tell you is that, again, medical child abuse did not occur. So then if you want to just look at abuse, that's fine. However, most abuse victims do not unalive their mothers. And I do not believe that was the motivation for your daughter to unalive Dee Dee. I believe there is evidence that shows a different motive. And she was already gone. She had walked out. She was 23 years old. And Rod, she did know how old she was. It's very clear that she knew how old she was based on several things in the police reports. She also was told, the officers, that she was thrown out 2 days before. So what possible reason, Rod, would she have to go back and unalive her mother? Her mom told her, go to Wisconsin with the boy. At least you'll be happy. She told the detectives that. Why didn't she just do that?
I think she was scared as shit of her mom. She thought that was the only way out.
I think her mother was scared shitless of her.
It was a bad decision. She knows that. She went to court. All the evidence that you have is the
Right,
same
it's not
evidence.
a bad decision. A bad decision is deciding to buy, a bad decision is smoking pot and getting caught for it. That's a bad decision. A bad decision is not unaliving your mother when you had every ability to walk out. You knew that you could prove that you were 23 years old. The abuse the abuse that you guys are alleging, the medical child abuse, had all but stopped in 2011 by her records anyway, if that's to be believed. So she had no reason, Raj. All she had to do was leave or call you. I don't believe any amount of abuse warrants what she did, nor do I believe it is the motivation, Rod. I'm sorry.
Well, so you're trying to prove a motive when this...
I'm sorry, repeat. I can't hear you. Repeat. I'm trying to prove what?
Prove her motive? That's what you're trying to prove. When she's got her sentence.
Motive.
All the evidence that you have, Fancy, all those medical records, they had all of this stuff.
Yeah, your wife lied about having him too, Rod. Did you know that?
She was offered a plea deal. She took the plea deal.
Yeah, when did she take that? Can you, okay, let me ask you a question, Rod. First of all, I want to ask two questions. At what point in time did you start working with HBO? And at what point in time did Gypsy take her plea deal, please?
We started working with HBO before the plea deal, and then
Yep.
she took the plea deal when the show came out.
Okay, so when did they provide you with the USB drive that you handed to Mike Stanfield to use in her defense for her plea deal? When did that happen? Because I have a letter stating that that HBO and Aaron Lee Carr gave you this and gave you a copy for Mike Stanfield to go ahead and get that plea deal. So when did that happen?
I don't know what went on between HBO and Mike Stanfield. Mike Stanfield was the defense attorney.
No, you do know, because that letter was addressed to both you and Christy, telling you that they concluded a USB drive to give to Mike Stanfield. It is in the letter I have from HBO. It's your letter to you and Christy.
So what's the point? It's evidence. Whoever Mike.
The point is that HBO and Gypsy, Christy, and Raw, not you. I'm sorry, not you. Let me explain. The deal is that HBO, Mike Stanfield, Christy, and Gypsy sold a false narrative to the public before she took her plea deal, before Nick went to trial, so that she could get that plea deal, and she didn't have to go to trial and face the same penalties that Nicholas did. Because I believe that if a jury had seen all the evidence that I have, they would have convicted your daughter on life, just like they did Nicholas. And when they did that, they released Mommy Dead and Dearest before he went to trial to bias the jury. I'm sorry. You've been had by your own family, sir. I don't have a beef with you, Rod. I never have. I think that you were a father at 17 who was, picked a woman who was overbearing and bossy and mean sometimes, and she tried to manipulate you, and you saw that and you ran away. I get that. No fault in that. But I do believe that you have a pattern of dating and being with manipulative women, and you allow them to do this to you and control you in this manner, and you may not even notice. But what I'm telling you, sir, is I have the records, the evidence to back up the claims I'm making, and perhaps you might want to listen to me to understand better this case, because clearly, sir, you're admitting you don't know. Your wife might know, but I don't think you know all the ins and outs.
I don't need to know all the ins and outs. This is a bunch of drama.
Well, you do, Rod, because what you're saying is false.
Just knowing the fact that I seen my daughter walk for the first time in that courtroom and was able to.
Is that true, Rod? Because you're okay. Wait a minute, Rod. Okay, so you said the first time you saw your daughter walk was in that courtroom, correct?
Yes.
When was the last time you had ever seen her walk?
Oh, she was probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old.
So you're telling me from 3 years old on, you never saw your daughter walk?
Not that I recall. Once she was in the wheelchair.
Okay, so the motorcycle. Okay, that's a good point. When did the wheelchair show up, Rod?
I don't know. It was after.
Was she 7, 8, or was she 3 or 4?
After the motorcycle accident.
Did it happen after? Okay, so it happened after the motorcycle accident. Then what you just said was inaccurate, sir, because the motorcycle accident didn't happen until she was 7 or 8 years old, which means that the entire, up to the point from 3 to 4 to 7 to 8, she was walking. All right, so you saw her walking at 8. Then the wheelchair shows up, and then you don't see her walking again until you were in court, which is why your wife specifically said that we knew she could walk. But what Gypsy said in her testimony was, I always knew I could walk, and I always knew I was not sick. So if she testified to that, that is her admission to all of that. And if she is now saying that that's not true, then, Rod, she committed perjury.
I don't think she's saying that's not true. Like you said, I don't understand.
How do you not think she's saying that's not true?
I don't know.
I know. Rod, look, I could debate with you all day, and I will run you in circles because I have all the evidence, and I've done all the I've done all the work, and I am highly educated in this and highly intelligent. I am not trying to say that to talk down to you. I just think you're misinformed, and I think you've been misled by the women in your life. If you want to know really what happened, I will be happy to provide you with anything you want to look at, to understand. You don't have to talk to me. I have other people that I can pass this through to you. But if you're really interested in knowing why your daughter did this to protect your grandchild and your other family members, you really need to be more informed, sir. And I just would like to help you, Rod. I always wanted to help you. All I ever wanted to do was tell the truth.
Fancy, I am informed. I lived this. Since Gypsy was born, I lived this.
But you said you didn't live this, Rod. You said that she was far away. You said that you never went to her doctor's appointments. You said you never saw her. However, we have quite a few pictures where I'm pretty sure you had a relationship with her for quite a long time.
I did. When she was younger, after they started moving away towards New Orleans and everything, I didn't see her at all for many years. But I remember her being.
And why is that, Rod? Why did you never go for visitation, Rod?
And I was busy working life. You know, we tried to make a trip when she was maybe 17, 18.
So you willfully did not participate in your daughter's life because you were working, and I get that. But sir, then you can't sit here and tell me that you lived it, because you didn't. You were offshore, and you have no idea what Dee Dee, nor Christy, nor Gypsy, nor any of the other family members were doing back home. You yourself have admitted that you never ever went to a doctor's appointment, not one time. You never questioned her. You never took her to court for anything except for the one time where you disputed some of the medical charges. I think she told you the truth, Rod, and I think you believed that because it was the truth. And I think now they are changing the narrative because it doesn't fit.
Fancy. She thought about killing her mom to get away from her. That's all
But
the
why,
truth.
Rod? Why? She started thinking about killing her mother all the way back to 2011, sir, when she shot her with a BB gun 10 times.
Yeah, because she wanted to get away from her, man.
For what reason, Rod? Why didn't she just leave? She was, in 2011, she was over the age of 18. Why didn't she call you?
don't know.
Why didn't she just leave? Rod, she knew.
I don't know. I can't. She didn't leave. She was probably scared shitless to get caught again, Fancy.
Rod, no, the cops never brought her home. Do you understand that? The cops have never been called to bring her home. She willfully walked out of Dan's roommate's house and went home with your wife because with your ex-wife, because your ex-wife told her she wanted the drugs that she stole, the money that she stole, and she told her if she returned home with her, she would go ahead and allow her to have the relationship with Dan. No police ever brought your daughter back. The only time that the police were ever involved was in 2009, when a nurse that worked for Dr. Steele supposedly called in a welfare check. 2 officers and 2 CPS workers went out to the home. They spoke to Gypsy. They saw an ID that proved that Gypsy was over the age of 18. Dee Dee provided them with medical records that showed that she did have some of the developmental delays and the actual physical ailments that she had. Gypsy told them that nothing was wrong, and Gypsy did not leave. They gave her the opportunity to leave that day, and she did not. She could have walked out of there with the police that day, and she chose to stay because she wanted to continue in the con, Rod. I'm sorry. The only time she decided it was no longer suiting to her and decided to unalive her mother is when her mom told her she could not be with boys. Men, lots of them, Rod, lots of them. We have proof of this.
The cops wouldn't get her or nothing. Dee Dee got her back home, and she was scared.
No,
That was her way.
she didn't have to go home with her, Rod. Why wouldn't she have just, why didn't she call the police that day? They would have come out and verified her ID.
I don't know. I can't answer that. That's a good question.
Exactly. You can't answer that. That's the problem. She had every opportunity to leave, and she did not. So I do not believe that abuse is the motivating factor for the reason that she killed your wife. I believe your ex-wife, there is many, many other reasons that we believe is a motivation for this, sir.
Well,
And I can show them to you. The
believe what I
investigators
believe.
did not continue to investigate after your daughter took a plea deal. They were instructed by Dan Patterson to stop investigating. They already had a confession from her co-defendant. They did none of the investigating, and the officers in the case said that they were investigating a long financial fraud, and they were very upset that they did not get to take this to trial because they believed they had evidence to prove why this was done, and it had nothing to do with abuse. You and HBO, your wife, Gypsy, all changed that narrative, and you have lied to the public for, not you specifically, I don't think, but your wife and your child have. Your daughter, Mia, even is calling her out in front of her. Can you not see the writing on the wall, Rod? She's a very disturbed girl, and she needs help. You're denying that she has medical conditions. You're denying that it has anything to do, that she has any medical conditions related to the chromosome disorder. And do you understand, for the health of your grandchild, that is rather dangerous.
I don't think Gypsy has any medical conditions.
Rod, she has medical conditions. She's taking medications. She has conditions from this, Rod. They're proven in her medical records. What are you talking about?
She got a full checkup when she...
Rod, can I ask you a question? Can you please go to please go to rarechromo.org, type in the microdeletion of the 1Q21.1 that she has, and look at the 11 or 12 page document that they have. If you do so, it lists every single one of Gypsy's conditions throughout her life as being part of this type of disorder, sir. And it has varying levels of degrees of severity, from no symptoms whatsoever, all the way up to a baby being born with severe microcephaly that cannot not last outside of the womb for more than a few days. There are serious ramifications, and if you have not done genetic counseling, sir, you're not protecting your grandchildren. You're not protecting Mia's grandchildren. You're not protecting any of Dylan's children, and you're not protecting Nicolette's children, and you're not protecting Gypsy's children because you're choosing to be willfully ignorant. Just go get the counseling done, sir. I'm trying to save your grandchild's life.
Oh, God, Fancy, thank you so much.
Well, you can be a shithead about it, or you can actually go do the genetic counseling that was recommended to you several times. Your daughter even made a post that she feels that maybe she's a bad mom at this point right now because she didn't realize that it could be passed down. Well, you know who did know that it could be passed down? Your wife, because I told her that in 2019, and so did Titania.
Gypsy has a doctor that she's seeing about her baby.
What kind of doctor?
That, you know,
No,
Baby
is it
doctor.
a general
I feel like
practice
this is
doctor or
getting
it a specialist?
extremely abusive, this conversation. I think it's
Yeah.
getting out of hand.
We need to-
And
yeah.
it's being, I think this is, it's
to
an
sit here
attack.
and go
Yeah.
through her. Yeah, we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I
If
think
you guys
this
want to have, if Rod and Fancy, if you guys want to have that conversation, I just feel like it's getting a little hot and you know what I mean? And I feel like without anything in front of Rod, we can't expect him to answer. You can't expect him to know or remember on the spot or so. I feel like
Sure. I agree with that. I agree.
It looks unfair to Rod, and so I'm going to call that one.
Well, that's why I've repeatedly
But
asked him to speak to me privately.
Right. If you guys want to have a private conversation, absolutely. I just feel
Thank you
like
for allowing me to speak
Rod
with you,
is
Rod.
prepared for that. Yeah.
I rethink. Okay, Rod, I'm serious. If you would like some information, please reach out to me. I will give you anything you need. I am not an enemy of you. I am not an enemy of your family. I simply want to tell the truthful story, sir. So if you would like to speak to me further, please, Rod. Christy has my phone number. You can call me. I've asked her to call me several times through Jasmine, and she did not, because I wanted to tell you this before I found out she was pregnant, because I got confirmation this year. Okay? I would like to have a further conversation with you, and I do agree that doing this without him being able to prepare himself is not okay. But I wanted to very much put into your head things to think about.
Fancy, I think you can. We can have a conversation till you blue in the face.
What'd you say?
Couple simple facts. I think we can have a conversation till you blue in the face. You're not going to change my belief, his motive.
Well, that's
Unalive.
fine, Rod, but can you please agree to tell your wife and your child to stop harassing, stalking, and cyberbullying me? Because what I have, I am bringing with facts and
Hi,
evidence.
guys. I'm going to call. Yeah, I'm going to call.
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, I think
All right, I'll step down.
if you don't mind, hi Rod, my name is Jennifer. I just wanted to, I feel like earlier when Francie was explaining to the Munchausen's by proxy and the malingering, that maybe it wasn't explained to you what she was trying to say. When Munchausen by proxy, there's always a win in it for the abuser. You know, they make the person sick and then they get them better, and there's kind of this heroic thing that goes along with it. And I think what she was trying to get you to understand is that's not what wasn't Dee Dee's pattern, you know, to get Gypsy sick and then to get her better and be the hero and, you know, always running to the rescue. And I think that's where that, you know, the gray area is that we don't see here, that the malingering, that there was so much. And especially when Gypsy was older, that we feel like she was playing into a part to keep that going for financial gain, because, you know, the sicker she was, the more rewards came with it. So, you know, and there was a point where she did know that she could walk, her muscle tone, everything else, you know, it shows us that she was walking more than she was in a wheelchair. She was able to get up and leave anytime she wanted. She was able to probably walking around the house all the time because the wheelchair was not accessible with all the garbage and junk everywhere. That wheelchair was not being used inside. So I think I think that's where a lot of the doubt and question comes in. And Ivory's a nurse as well as I am. And, you know, we haven't looked over everything 100%. We're very new to this chromosome deletion. But we have, you know, we have looked at a lot of other things. I think that's where the public gets that there's so much confusion with this, is we really do feel like it was a more malingering. And that's when, you know, two people are working together for the same goal, because there's a goal at the end of it. You know, there's a win, there's a prize. And it seemed like that's what was happening.
And I think right now the public, with her continuing to financial gain off this whole crime, is again where the public is pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, you were all making money off of such a horrific, horrible thing that was, again, we feel like that whole story was a scam. Okay? And the fact that she's still doing it doesn't, you gotta say, admit it though, Rod, it doesn't look good.
No.
It looks crappy. I mean, at least be honest, though. It looks like she's still trying to gain off of all of this.
Right.
I get it. I get that. I mean,
You know-
I don't think anybody should be making money or
Off of a horrific thing. And I think that's where the public comes in and goes, you know, if it was a scam, all right? So I'm not even going to tell you, if it was a scam, and there was obviously, even if she did have Munchausen's by proxy, and I don't think she did, but even if she did, there was still a scamming on Gypsy's part either way. She knew a lot more, and she admitted to knowing a lot more. So then here you are scamming people for profit, and then you come out of prison where people feel you didn't serve enough time for your crime, and rightfully so. And then you come out and then you're getting all this financial gain for being noted and being quote unquote famous as exactly that. And so the people are pissed off, like you're dancing around here and getting loaded off the fact that you did something horrible. And then honestly, it's practically getting away with it scot-free, because 8.5 years compared to the life plus 25 that the other person got. Do you see where the public feels like, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look at it like it was just 8.5 years. I look at it like it was 33 years. You know,
Okay.
so I think.
Okay, that's how you see it, but not for the crime. For the crime, it was 8.5 years she served for the crime.
That's right. And
No, not her victimization, but her crime. And then you have to understand, wasn't Nick also a victim of her? She manipulated him, Rod, 2 years. So it's not like Dee Dee was doing this and then she just snapped one day. She took in another person and plotted and planned it and groomed him to do it. So do you understand why the people, the public, are sitting there looking at you all like it's disgusting? You're all profiting off of one guy's in prison because he was manipulated for 2 years, and then she murdered somebody and sat for 8.5 years, and then is out trying to act like I'm this great person, influencing the young all over social media. Do you see where the public's concerned? Still making the money.
And you know, Rod, how can you even say that there wasn't any acting in this? I mean, we have a video of her and at Disney, you know, eating royal mashed potatoes, and literally 6 days later, she's on a video with Nick dressed up like Ruby, you know, talking about God knows what. You know, she was able to go from sick gypsy to not sick gypsy within hours. So that she absolutely was putting on an act for, you know, the public and somebody else behind closed doors. That's concerning when you can be those two completely separate people within hours of the other one. You know, in 1 minute she's in a wheelchair and she's a Disney princess eating mashed potatoes, and that night she's got her tatas hanging out with a red wig on talking about she's Ruby. And, you know, I mean, you can't see that how the public sees that there was some performance on her part.
And then for the whole family to make money off of it, someone is dead. Someone is gone, and someone will never come out of prison. Like, so for us to sit there and watch you all acting like we're some fancy, famous people, but 2 lives and more than that were affected and lost that day. And why should you guys get to celebrate? Why should she be out there celebrating like this and acting a fool with no humility and just acting like when she did this to people? Ultimately, she was the key card player.
I don't
Do you understand? So you're like, why is the public picking on me? Get yourself out of the limelight. You want to have a quiet family life, stop collecting money on the death of Dee Dee. Even if she did abuse Gypsy, you're all wrong. You're wrong for it. And the public doesn't appreciate it.
I'm curious what he has to say. I mean, how do you explain that, Rod, all of this? Do you understand?
I understand what y'all are saying. I understand it looks bad.
It is bad. It does not. It looks bad. It is bad.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and you
Even
no
if
matter
she was
what,
a
she's the
victim of
mother of your
Munchausen by
children.
proxy, even if she was a victim, it is still not right for your family to be collecting off the death of Dee Dee Blanchard and the imprisonment of Nick Godejohn.
And the continual manipulation. I mean, we watched it on Lifetime for the past 5 months. I mean, you know, we watched her manipulate your family, Ryan. I mean, just, you know, it's crazy that it seems like she has not gotten any better. She is a master manipulator and a sociopath at best. You can sit back and watch this happen. And you seem like a really nice guy. Trust me, our hearts all go out to you. I think you are caught up in a mess that you don't know how to get yourself
Can I say something on Christy's behalf, though? And I've said this, and anybody who watches my lives or videos know I've said this. So when you look at me, I don't see Dylan. I don't mention him just because he keeps private, and I will respect that. But when you see Mia on the show and you see her on, you know, she doesn't profit off of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm not trying.
And so you kind of feel bad for her. You guys, you just all need to stop collecting money, stop collecting a payday on somebody's life imprisonment and death. It just makes you all look horrible. And then you all get upset when people talk about you. Well, people don't like you because of it. I'm going to be honest, and I'm not trying to be rude. People don't like you.
I only get upset when people are saying things that are untrue, in my opinion, that I know for sure is not true. Just like somebody said a while ago, Gypsy has a parole hearing. She doesn't. Okay? So, look.
And that's fine. But if you don't want people to say things that aren't true, again, take your family out of the spotlight. Take them away from the camera lens. Then people will not talk about them.
I mean, you're making money off of, no matter what, Dee Dee was the mother of your daughter. I mean, at one time, you had to have cared about this woman, and your whole family is profiting off of her death, and a death that was committed by your daughter, who manipulated a kid that probably couldn't hardly barely tie his own shoes. And here, you know, she's flipping around with Kim Kardashian and walking the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I mean, it's disgusting.
And then I'll give credit. You can tell you and Christy raised Mia and Dylan well. And I've said that, and everybody here who's on here has heard me say that. The problem is Christy wants to not look bad, but she just looks like she just wants the most benefit, and she just looks like a vindictive stepmother. You guys need to get out of the spotlight. You don't, and that may not be true. I'm not saying that's true, but I'm just saying, does she see? She needs to understand that from the public's view, that's what she makes herself look like. So this is doing you no benefit other than financial gain. And if you want to keep, you know, people are not going to stop talking about it. It is what it is.
Man, can I say something?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mia was raised properly. Gypsy was not. I believe she was a victim. I think she has a story to tell. I think she still has support. I think she is progressing, and we're part of that journey with her. We want to see
Really,
her.
Rod, you can't even, you know what? I was with you up until there. I believe, and again, I'm with Fancy though. I believe that, you know, she wasn't parented right, and there was manipulation to Gypsy on the same part. But no, it's not because she has a story, Rod.
But now is the time where you could be that
parent. You can
parent.
do for Gypsy if you loved your family is take them out of the spotlight. It looks like you don't care about. Christy doesn't care about Gypsy. Look what she did to her between the marriage and that's what we're seeing. And then we like you even less. And then we're going to continue talking. And then you're all getting upset. So again, take yourself out for a little bit, get her therapy, and then let her speak about her story. But we don't see a story. We see TV trash, and you're just getting money off of someone's death, and it looks horrible.
Okay,
And if you really cared how you look, then you would see that.
That's not how everyone sees it.
Oh, that's how the majority see it.
Well,
You're right.
Don't you see it that way, Rod?
She doesn't talk about her sickness or her victimization on the show. She's talking about men. Where in there is she helping anybody?
Yeah.
Where? I'm going to teach you how to go from a husband to a baby daddy real quick. Where is she advocating for anybody or showing a victim story in that? Come on. She's trying to catch her husband, pulling an Amber Heard, trying to catch her husband so she can look like a victim again. Where is she in there telling her story? What story?
Not once, never.
What did you expect her to come out and be perfect? Not make any mistakes?
I expect her to come out, get some therapy, and don't complain when you're going to act like trash on TV and then complain when people talk about you. She should be coming out. You want to talk about your story, then make the show about her story, not about her trashy love life that she can't handle. Right?
Nobody knows what her story is going to be. Nobody knew she was going to come out.
We just went through a whole season, and what's her story? You're right. So how can you say it's because she has a story and people are watching her? Because she has a story. She hasn't said anything about a story.
You say she wasn't raised right. Maybe
So
this
you're
is
just
the time
trying
you
to make
can
money
step
off of
in.
her trashy image, not because she has a story to tell. Now, if she actually sat down and said, "This is my story," this is who I'm trying to reach, maybe people would see it differently.
Hey, her life is her story right now. Y'all.
It's disgusting.
And I'm gonna need you to seriously. Then
Sorry,
we
it's
need to get her
disgusting.
help. If that her life is the fact that she can't hold a marriage and that Christy's helping her get out of a marriage to have a baby daddy, like, do you understand that's what people see? That's a sad story, and that's nothing to be proud of. And then you complain when people are sitting there making up trashy rumors.
Christy,
What are you expecting?
Christy, what?
For telling her, now that I've seen the show and see how happy GYPSY is, GYPSY made a mistake by marrying Ryan. She thought she was going to come out and be happy and get over Ken. She didn't. She made a mistake.
So you think that how that all aired out was, proper conduct? Come on.
No, I don't. I don't think it
So
was.
then where is her story? Where is the helping others? It was all about her messy relationships.
Manipulation. It was more.
It was just showing us how she is a master manipulator. And it's making Christy look really bad.
The story's not over. Story's not over.
What story? You're
now
right.
we just
Now
get
there's
to
a
watch
baby involved. And so there's a season 2. Again, we are the public. We are watching. You maybe live in a different story, but I'm going to tell you the story the public sees.
I have no control of the show happening or not happening.
So then do you understand though? Again, it's ultimately going to come down to people are going to talk shit if you're going to hang yourself in front of a camera. That's ultimately what it is. You can defend it all you want. It's not going to stop until you get yourself out of the spotlight.
And Rod, you said earlier that GYPSY didn't have somebody to rear her right. Maybe this is your chance to step up and be a father and guide her in the right direction and put your foot down and be like, look, this is not right. This is not right. This is what you need to do. We get that she was living behind closed doors for 23 years of her life and doesn't have a lot of life experience, but maybe this is your time to shine and be her father and guide her in the right direction.
And think about your other children who've got to be associated with this whole mess.
Say what, Rod?
Like, honestly, my heart goes out to Mia.
So what?
Because it looks bad on her. The poor girl didn't do nothing. She had no play in it.
Which I want me to treat her like she's 12 years old and, really make her clean her room and tell her she can't have social media. And
I have adult children, Rod. I have a lot of adult children, okay? But no, you should sit them down, and I would never let my daughter just sit there and stop. You got married. You have honor. That was a vow. So you should try to work on it before I just go ahead and bring your ex in to have a baby with. You teach them right and wrong. You should not be showing, you want to be an influencer, you should not be showing people on TV you think that's right.
well, I know what it's like to be in love with somebody else. I know what it's like to be in a marriage that it's not there. Okay? So it's not right. I agree. I made a mistake getting married to her mom. She made a mistake getting married to Ryan. That's the story. People want to see it. Lifetime want to pay money for it.
Thank you. So you just proved my point. Lifetime wants to pay money for it. End of discussion. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you just really told us exactly where you stand on this. And you know what? Hopefully in season 2.
Don't get hurt. Don't get hurt when people talk crap because you're dangling the trashiness in front of the camera. I have nothing left to say about that.
I'm not hurt when you're talking trash. I'm hurt when somebody says something that's not true. You can talk trash all you want. You can call us a bad parent. I wasn't there.
Christy's a manipulator.
So there's only certain lies that I tell you like and certain you don't. What makes this lie any different than the rest of my lies?
About any other stuff you said apart from the cops came to my house. You saying
So
why is that the only
you're
lie?
okay with me lying about everything else except for that? Okay.
Well, look, a lot of the other stuff is so silly, like Christy sleeping with Ken. Who's gonna believe that? Okay? Now, cops coming to my house, me leaving Christy? Yeah, that's probably believable. Ken being gay? You know, Ken went on there and defended that. He's not gay. I mean, he doesn't have a grinder or whatever.
Listen, at the end of the day, you're in it to make money. And what is more important to you? How you look in your self-respect or the money? That's completely up to you. That's not up to me. I control me, but I don't control the other billion people on the app or on the television or in magazines or that are reading these magazines. So ultimately, it just depends on what's more important to you, self-respect or money. Because
the most
and
important
you're
thing-
choosing money. No. You are choosing money, and therefore this comes with it. This comes with it. You don't like the lies? I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. You can defend them, but it doesn't mean we're not going to stop pushing them.
Hey, Rod, I've got one question. Rod, I've got one question for you.
Wait,
And I'm
hold
going
on.
to be.
I'm sorry. You said keep pushing them. What?
I said keep pushing them, and I'll keep defending them.
Then you. All right. Then I'll see you next week.
Rod, I've got one question before you go, and I'm going to be totally respectful. I just want to know one thing. You know how you just said before that you're coming on to defend this, but everything else you guys say you don't care about. Now, we've been speaking in here a lot about the fact that we have opinions, not fact, but opinions that GYPSY helped with the murder of Dee Dee. And you haven't come in here to defend that, but you're defending this. That's what I don't understand.
Well, I don't have all the information that the prosecutors had, so I can't speak on whether she was there or not. I saw Nick say she was in the bathroom. I heard GYPSY say she was in the bathroom. I heard Nick say he stabbed her 4 times and then blah blah blah. And then he kept on. So I don't think GYPSY.
So you got to believe what you hear.
My opinion, okay? Y'all can make y'all own opinions on.
So you believe what you hear, and I believe the information that I heard, and so we're all safe to say we're in the same boat.
Okay, yeah.
Because
so
none of us have proof of anything.
that's why
We're
I
all
haven't
just
come on
believing
to-
what we hear.
That's why I haven't come on to say anything about that. That information is out there. A lot of it's opinion based. The prosecutors had the information. And, you know, I can't defend that because I don't know for sure. You know, GYPSY told me she wasn't there, but I don't have proof of that 100%. So I'm not going to defend that. I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion is she stayed in the bathroom. Nick did what he did, and then they did their thing after, whatever, you know.
At the end of the day, though, Rod, I give you hold on. At the end of the day, Rod, though, I give you respect for defending your story and your wife, and I really do. I do. Unfortunately, even if I stop, it's not going to stop the other billion people. Do you understand what I'm saying? I can stop today, but it's not going to stop at all.
I get that. I mean, that's fine. You want to keep, you know, talking about the story, her story, whether it's true, whether it's lie, whether the rumor coming out tomorrow is true or not.
You just got to understand the public is pissed off. I
get it. I don't really want to do another show. I didn't want to do the second show. This is GYPSY's choice. She's living in my home. She chose to do this show. What am I going to do? Kick her out of my home?
No, counsel her. Counsel her how it's a bad decision.
I gotta support my daughter.
And you know
There's a
what? That's
difference
so
between
respectable.
support.
And she can get a job.
There's a difference between support and just aiding and abetting her to. I mean, obviously she needs help because you said yourself she doesn't have that life experience. So you just letting her do what she should do without. You need to counsel her.
She needs to make
Discourage her. She doesn't need to make choices on her own yet. She doesn't know how, you just said.
No, she doesn't know how, Rod. She needs your guidance. And, we've all sat here and said, we think you have done a beautiful job raising your other children. They seem like really great kids.
Absolutely.
We have given you that applause the whole time. And you have been, it looks like you have been a wonderful father. And we hope that we can see that if there's another season. I hope to see you being that father to Gypsy, because I think that's who she needs. And she needs somebody to guide her and help her with life lessons. Yes, you have to let her live her life, but she needs parents. She needs guidance. She's never had that. So my final thing to you is, if I could see anything, I hope I see more of that. I hope I see you being more involved in guiding her in the right direction. I hope I see her going in the right direction, because it seems like you've done a wonderful job with the other ones. So for that, I applaud you, and I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us tonight. I know it's not easy to do this, and you get a lot of shit from everybody, but I know it takes a lot of guts to come on here and hear all this, but that's really all I have left to say.
I do, Rod. I appreciate it, and I agree with Jen, what she just said. I've said it before, even on here, you guys did a beautiful job with your children. I just hope you continue that job with Gypsy, because it doesn't look like it's happening, but I really hope.
I work half the year, I'm gone.
Yeah.
We have internet. I talk to them every day and this and that, but I have to let Gypsy make some choices and learn from her mistakes. I didn't think it was a good idea if she married Ryan. She called and asked me. I said, Gypsy, it's gonna work if y'all are really in love with each other and you love them with all your heart. Y'all gonna have some problems, but y'all gonna make it. Christy and I made it over 30 years. We've been through some shit, but we loved each other enough to stay. I figured that was a mistake on her part, but here we are now. It wasn't the most terrible mistake she's ever going to make. Hopefully she learned from it. Hopefully she decides, if she marries Ken, that she's really in love with him and sticks with it. The show, it's probably a mistake. We're probably never going to get out the spotlight. She's always going to be known for what she did. She's going to realize that one day. That doesn't mean I can't support some of her bad decisions and let her learn from them. That's the only way I know how to parent. I'm not a control freak. I'm not getting her over here and going to tell her everything she can and can't do, or get on her ass about making every bad choice. If she makes a bad choice, it's not the worst choice in the world. It's not super consequential. Let her learn. She's got to learn.
These are super consequential decisions she's making that are bad. You do see that, right? Like, there's a baby going to be affected with all this. Like, think about that.
Hey, it might be a beautiful baby.
I'm not saying it won't be.
We
Absolutely.
know it's going to be a beautiful
I'm
baby.
talking about, like, coming into the mess of daddy. I'm not going to sit here and break down your parenting. I'm just saying, like, guys, it's a mess, and people are getting pissed. And again, ultimately, it comes down to the fact that people are pissed that you all look like you're worried about just money. You're all making a dime off of Dee Dee's death and Nick's imprisonment. And then you're acting like you want to advocate and tell stories, but yet there's yet to be a story. There's been documentaries, and there's been a season of this already, and nothing's ever been mentioned. So you got to understand, people are going to talk crap about you because they don't like you.
I get it. And there's going to be people that's going to support her, and we thank y'all for the support. If she does have support, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to have haters. I know it. Y'all do y'all
Just
thing.
be careful, because her history of mistakes get really bad. So you got to be careful. What's to say she's not going to make that mistake again?
I don't think she's going to be in a situation where she has to even consider harming anybody in any way. I'm
just saying, like, to what extent do we let the bad mistakes, you know what I mean, pile up? That was my point.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I made some pretty bad mistakes, and I pulled myself out the hole. I'm still digging myself out the hole, I guess. But I have good times. I have a family. I got kids that love me. My mom loves me. Everybody, respects me to some extent. So we're hoping we can break the mold with Gypsy and just what she's come up from, and just recreate her to somebody that can make good, beautiful, sound decisions on her own, and just trying to do the best we can with that.
God bless.
All right. Well, I hear that.
All right. Well, I'm going to play my guitar. Y'all
All right. You go
Have a good evening, Rod. It was nice talking to you.
Hold on, Rod. Hold on. Don't talk. Let me get you out of here first. Hold on, let me get him out of here. Hold on. Oh, I can't get him out. Why am I not able to get him out, guys?
There we go.
All right, he's out.